Tau mai te maramatanga, kia tau mai te rangimarie, kia tau mai te kaha, me te whai whakaaro o tēnei kaupapa. Hui e, tā ki e. Let's be grounded in clarity, let's be peaceful, let's be strong, consider it for this purpose, bind together, and so it is. So we have got quite a few staff support today. We have got Mr. Tony Strange, Mr. John Ridd, Mr. Nick Chin. We've got Renee Thomas standing in as our Richard Kubi. Gavin Dawson down in there. Online we have Councillor Joe Ellis. We've got media, Catherine Hubbard, and we have got Stephanie and Tanya, who will be presenting. And with someone else on the line here, Barb, someone. Welcome Grant Knowles, our Deputy Chair from Golden Bay Community Board, and Councillor Vicky, who is frequently Motueka quite often. It's nice to see you at the playground opening. We have no apologies. Any declarations of interest? Don't worry about that. I'll do that in the board report. Can I please have someone move the October minutes? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Board Member Hughes moved, seconded. I'm happy to second. Seconded by the chair. All those in favour say aye. Anyone again? Okay, that's carried. Okay, public forum. So we've got quite a full public forum today. We are starting with Jude Ritchie. You're up. Jude is going to speak about administration support for Motueka Community. So you know the deal because you are a frequent community board attendee. When you're ready.
I just want to thank the board very much for this opportunity to speak, and also Gavin just for actually putting me down and working through just the machinations of actually enrolling to be able to speak here. So thank you. Yep. Okay. Yeah. The reason I wanted to speak was because I just remember this side of the room. I think it was Evan and John, and they were talking about no more secretary. And I'm like, why? You know, like, because you guys are so, the board members and councillors are active doing things. And so to be a secretary is really hard. I mean, I really get the job that Tarina does as chair as well as a board member, you know, like it's juggling hats. So I was like a bit, no, that's not very good. And then when I made inquiries, because John Ridd actually said at that time, oh, don't worry about it, I'll be here. And then I thought, why is he here? Like, what is the role he stands in? And so as the gallery, we kind of get the honor of listening to what's going on, but we don't always know what role you have, especially if, you know, a new person comes along, they've got no idea who's doing what here. And we do want to be a transparent council. I really get that. I've just gone through doing a building consent and just loveliness. Just every time I call up, I just get loveliness, okay? But I don't expect unloveliness, and I'm not unlovely to begin with. So maybe it's just because, you know, I'm lovely too. Don't know, not blowing my own trumpet. Shh, just cancel that. Anyways, yeah, so it's about administration. So I'm not sure what Renee's doing here, and if she's a minute taker, then yay. No, okay. Is anyone taking minutes?
Through the chair, I will, with your permission, clarify to the committee. So council hasn't stopped administration support to the board. As we've said earlier, we have simply moved the support from a staffer who used to do it as part of their role into the full-time governance team. The committee, or the board, sorry, has full secretariat support, the meeting logistics, organising things. But the change that they'll find is that it will be in line with general council process. So whether it's around spending,
There. So someone in there is doing it.
I am doing it.
Oh, you're taking minutes.
Yep. So I do the all of that. So the level of support hasn't changed.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a bit more coordinated. And yeah, so please be assured that
Right.
the board has been supported, that we're not, that council isn't sort of hanging the board out to dry. So it's just a change in approach, and we'll all get used to it as we go along. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but
Yeah.
no support
But
has been lost.
I did feel a lot more secure when you talked to me on the phone, but also I think it's good that the public can also know what's going on. Okay, just so it's kind of like a declared thing. Because another thing I remember I've spoken of is transparency, and how there's a lot of people in our community that don't necessarily get online to know what's going on, including, like the 10-year plan and things like that. And that often you've got to go online to do something, which is quite interesting, because to book a space here, I got told the only way to do it is online. But then Gavin has actually pointed out that's incorrect, and that's been sorted, that I can actually go to the council or ring up the council and book a space. But just to say that if something can only be done online, I believe that we're standing on dangerous ground, because there's still a lot of us, and I'll say us because my computer is so old that I'm not going to replace it, because I don't really have that kind of cash available. And so if I have to do something online, I come to the library, and sometimes it's really onerous to get onto the library, because you only get 30 or 15 or 30 minutes to do such a thing. There are people that don't do online. Not everyone is online. And I haven't had a mailbox drop learning about anything council for a long time, because that's what we were told, and that's what I was told would happen. Is that my time up? So that's it. Really is just, I want to remind you, I want you to be transparent. I'm going to have you up about it. And remember, the people that aren't IT savvy or have and can't have their voice heard. Because if you minimize it to just the only way you can have your voice heard is to get online, then you're being onlineist.
Can I just get a clarification?
Sure.
Where did you get told? Was it when you rang the council, or what, that you could only book for public forum online?
Yeah, was when I run council.
Yeah, so it's consistency in information, yeah.
Yes.
And through the chair, as a result of that, I have communicated with the whole, that was from the Motueka office. So I have communicated that with the whole team to make sure that they can call one of us, put calls through to us.
That's interesting, because they're
It was
most
the
helpful.
TDC in Richmond.
Yeah, that's I.
Called Motueka. I think Motueka was busy, but I don't know. And just said, look, she has, tell her to go online.
Right.
So then TDC Richmond told me, you do it online. And I said, library's closed now, I can't do it online.
Yeah, thank you. We, as we always do, we'll be talking about this in the board section.
And that's where it got cleared up, and the lovely Gavin has consistentized it.
Thanks, Jude.
Thank you. All right. Pardon me for making up words. I'm
It
sure
makes it
they
interesting.
explain what it is. Miss Onomatopoeia.
We'll look it up later. Steve Anderson. Now, Steve's speaking on behalf of the group. Is that right? So you've got 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My name is Steve Anderson. I'm a 30-year resident of Nanamoti. I've always to school in Nanamoti and Motueka High School. just to say I am invested in the community. I'd like to thank all the members and councillors here. I'm representing so far about 60 odd people. Well, more than that, who would like to build, we have built a bike multi-use trail from Alexander Bluff Bridge to Lower Queen Street, Lower College Street. This is about a 6.1 kilometer path that would be on mostly on road reserve. The Great Pace Trail goes from, well, through Natamoti, across the Peninsula Bridge to the West Bank, and then goes to Brooklyn. So it doesn't really service the people of the East Bank, like Natamoti, Adamine, Heights, and the people in between. So kind of the logical connection would be from Alexander Bluff Bridge on the East Bank to continue on into town. And I'm here. I've had talks with Mike Van Enter, the senior transport engineer, and he's very supportive. The council does not have much money, and I appreciate that. And had talked with Ross Maley, who is manager of the mountain bike park in Kaiteri, and he's very supportive and is working to contact landowners and get them on side. So we're at the stage of designing the trail, coming up to broad crossings, and gather your support, and also maybe any funding that you might have available. Had a talk with the MVA, the Motueka Valley Association, last week, and they're very supportive. They're talking about becoming a charitable trust so they can, so I can apply for funding, and that would be the reciprocal for that. And any questions? Yeah.
Sorry, on the subject of funding.
Yep.
I know that the Rata Foundation has changed its criteria just recently in the last couple of years, and it's all about removing barriers so that people can be. So have you contacted those?
Yeah, I'd like to get a bond with something like MVA that is a charitable trust, because quite often they require you to be a charitable trust. I do have Rata Foundation on my list though. Yeah. And MBS, I've contacted an employee there who's contacted the MBS people, but there again, you need to bank with MBS and have a charitable trust. So like the MBA does bank with MBS, but it's just getting the charitable trust.
Any other questions? Yes.
Concern for me with bike trails, read in the paper the Upper Moottree issue, and that's been going on for many years by the looks of things. So for the community board, I mean, we have a small pot of money, but I feel it's opening a can of worms, actually, right? You know, if you got a trust together and applied for some money from the community board, there'll be others coming in, and it's, you know, the small bit of money that we would have, or it's your money as well. I can't see it actually making a difference, but
I think it will all make a difference.
okay.
We've got quite a few people who are just keen on working on it, volunteering, working on it themselves. The other thing would be crowdfunding, like Pledge Me. I've already had 2 people that said, if you've got a bank account, I want to give some money to it. So, I mean, people are pretty keen.
Well, hopefully it fits the criteria then.
Yes.
You're not talking about building alongside the highway, are you? We're talking about along the.
Part of it would be alongside the highway, because some properties on the East Bank go all the way to the river, or even some even go across the river, present river, because the river's changed course. So you'd have to get easements or right of ways, and that's, you know, it can be done, but you know, it's more problematic. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
thank you very much.
So we do discuss this later in the board report, and I also will make contact with you after, as I do with all our
Thank
public
you.
forum speakers. Yeah, so the outcome of that, we'll talk to you about that, but I guess for the board, it's really good if, when you get to that design stage,
Yeah.
so we can see an overlay on a map
Yep.
and see,
I appreciate that.
yeah,
Right now, Ross is contacting landowners, and I'd rather not put a map up and
yes,
landowner
of
find,
course.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Find out kind of from somebody else that, oh, there's going to be a bike trail beside your property.
That's right,
It's
yeah,
just courteous, I think, to talk to them. So,
100%. I'll let you speak. Generally, we don't do that. It's only the speaker, but yeah.
I did work for the Great Taste Trail for a while as their trail manager, putting in the stretch from Pukeroro to Ngātamoti, and that's been, I think if any of you have been on there, it's been tremendously successful, bringing the community together and giving the valley some recreational ability that's not on the road, you know, walking, biking. Don't get fixed on that it's a bike trail. At the moment, probably more people walk it and run it and bike. That will just change in summer. But it's really opening up the river. I think what Steve and the group really want mainly from you is to push the Great Taste Trail to plan ahead to come down the East Bank, because it serves the people. The Great Taste Trail doesn't have anyone from this side of the bay on its trust, and they seem fixated on going down to Brooklyn, which doesn't serve anyone in the valley. It seems to serve the Great Taste Trail. The tourists will go whatever way we build it. You know, we'll build it up the Brooklyn Valley, and they'll still ride up there. They'll probably get grumpy about it. They'll just follow the path. So, serving the people first, which is a directive of the TDC to the Great Taste Trail. So if we can get the community boards to and the councillors to push the Great Taste Trail to serve the valley first, you know, it might not happen in a couple of years. It might be 10 years down the track. But we're looking at the Alexander Bridge down because it's the easiest. It doesn't have any special engineering needs.
yeah. And I would say, you're right, that track around at Ngātamoti, it's just transformed the community. It feels like the community feels like they received something and they're really racing. Very successful. Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Hellier. I think you've got a slight adaptation. Already sticking.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. There are two main forms of contract. We think signed binding contracts and implied contracts. There cannot be a wedding signed binding contract between the council, a legal fiction, and living people because they are unequal parties. But I believe there is also a binding contract between two groups of living people, which I'll talk about later. So the council relies on implied contracts where they can renege on assurances that they didn't intend to keep. So what rights do ratepayers have over council withdrawing services? The council charges GST on rates, therefore it stands to reason that the council is providing a service by mowing booms, for example. This service is subject to the conditions of the Consumer Guarantees Act and the Fair Trading Act. The council breaches ratepayers' rights under those statutory acts by withdrawing the service without consultation or compensation. So what we have here is ratepayers donating money to a legal fiction based on an implied contract for services the council can and does remove on a whim. So to the binding contract between two peoples I mentioned earlier, it's between the Minister of Local Government and the ratepayers of New Zealand. And it's all in this historic document called Important Information About the Way We Manage Our Communities. And this is it here. And I'll read some of the parts out that I think are important. It's written by Honourable Dr. Michael Bassett, who was the architect of the amalgamating the councils. The reforms have three main aims: to give local authorities which represent today's local and regional communities of interest, to ensure that local authorities are more accountable by providing greater opportunities for you to be involved in their decision making. Local government needs your participation. Yeah, right. The reform recognises that our communities of interest have changed greatly in the last 100 years. It takes into account the network of economic, environmental and social influences which now draw the various parts of New Zealand into communities of common interest. So it goes on a bit, and then it comes down to district and city councils. Most councils will be called district councils, but they have the same powers as city councils. These will continue to carry out the day-to-day local government functions presently carried out by city council, county, town and district. This is important because what the Waimea County, what the Motueka Borough Council, what the Golden Bay County Council all did was supposed to be carried on by the new council. This is a promise. It goes on about how this new structures will be. The new councils and your interests will not be overlooked or ignored just because your local authority now covers a bigger area. In addition to your traditional right to vote for local members you want, careful safeguards have been built into the new system to make sure the new councils are accessible and responsive. Yeah, right. Community boards. Community boards are a recognition of some areas smaller than a district have such strong sense of identity and common interest, that's us, that it makes sense for citizens within these areas to make some of the day-to-day decisions affecting them. Further on, what's more, it will be required to give you the opportunity to have your say about the services it is proposing and to provide for you before the plan is implemented. You will have more opportunities to influence the way your local authority affairs are managed. So, Madam Chairman, the council does not have and never can have a binding contract between itself and its ratepayers. So it's up to us to exercise the rights given to us and to call in the promises made to us individually and collectively. Thank you. I want to be co-opted onto the community board to replace Mr. Armstrong. I can guarantee you that I would be exciting and interesting.
I take your word for that. Was there any questions or points of clarification?
Interesting to see your document with information.
This, I can't because it's a historic document. I will see if I can copy it and send it to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
But if not, would it be in order through the chair to extend Motueka Community Board condolences to MC Maureen Pugh, whose husband John Pugh died at Grey Hospital on Sunday, 3rd of November, aged 67 years. I found her very supportive and she's in full support of our new bridge. So Surely it must be applicable to our feelings. I'm interested in learning how to follow up a suggestion that it would be a great idea to have a jetty out from the coast near to where there is a sandy beach down from the Kina golf course. In Christchurch, out from the Brighton beach, there is one, and it is very popular with fishing, but it's quite an ornate, large wooden porch. I don't think we're supposed to be building, so just a suggestion that maybe we could consider it. I've got great grandies coming on and there's nowhere. We could take them out and have a go fishing. Recently in the news, Dr. Reddy, Minister of Health, made the comment that price-wise, there was little or no difference between a completely new Nelson Hospital and the current one being refurbished. If this is the case, surely the community board would prefer a completely new hospital. Should we not advise him accordingly? And I've got a question as a final comment. Is it correct that the Tasman District Council is now noting on property records if they are identified as being in flood zones? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for your suggestion about more MPU, and we are already on the case. Thank you very much. Yeah, and we feel exactly the same.
Yeah, the board has put through a request to send us something, which has ignited council to also do the same. So thanks, it's good to catch up with you on that one. And we'll talk about the rest of your bits later on, and I'll email you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ogilvy.
Madam Chair and committee board members. My address is called To the Memory of Two Kennedys. And two men who died recently, who contributed immensely to the growth and development of our town here in Motueka. Each had the same surname, Kennedy, but to my knowledge were unrelated. The first, David Kennedy, was a Motueka Borough Councillor from 1971, and then was Mayor from 1980 to 83. He was the 18th of 79 mayors for Motueka from 1900 to 1989. In that 12-year period when he was on the council and mayor, it was one of remarkable population increase in subdivisions within our town. Mostly in the area north of Tudor Street towards Ferron Street. It included streets like Moffat, Peterbridge, Kingston Place, Ledger Avenue, Clay Street. Areas of growth which have continued. David's own strong interest was infrastructure and also reserves. The upgrading of wastewater with new oxidation ponds, improved drainage. He was very definite about making sure the Eglinton Reserve and the Ledger Goodman Reserve were made as community reserves, necessary for the local area, while maintaining Rugby Park as what's called the Sports Park now, and Memorial Park as overall town reserves. The second Kennedy is Lloyd Kennedy. He was a Waimea County Council manager based in Richmond. When the Tasman District was created in 1989, Lloyd was appointed the Customer Services Manager, what we call today the Reserves and Parks, or Parks and Reserves Manager. For Motueka and for the community board, Lloyd was always a very good friend. He was a strong supporter of Senior Net and the Toy Library building, the Memorial Park Pavilion for cricket and soccer, the Recreation Centre, the Keosata Gardens, Dix Reserve upgrade. The day before arriving in Richmond, Lloyd had lived in Oxford, North Canterbury. And I think this is a small town, rural area background made him appreciate the needs of a community like ours in Motueka. He was, in fact, a remarkable person, quite an amazing person, his own personality, his character, his support, and the likes. Always invitingly friendly. He saw Motueka as a priority and had always a very refreshing, positive attitude. His mindset was, let's find a way to do this, or let's do it. I want here to sort of say thank you, Lloyd. It's likely that probably neither David nor Lloyd met each other, but the individual contributions to Motueka have been both significant and long-lasting. For our town, theirs were lives, I believe, well-lived lives. Thank you, Madam Chair. There's an old photograph of the council when David became mayor. Note that Jim Fry is the deputy mayor as well, who is the pipe band master. Don't look too closely, Nick.
Thinking of going and buying some shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, Mr. Overwood. Okay, so we have presentations from Tania Bray, who is TDC Coastal Planner, and Steph Stiles from Cliff of the Skull. So, moving over. Let's get you off mute.
My apologies, for some reason my camera doesn't seem to be working, but it was before. I would like to thank you guys for inviting us to come along and give these presentations. My understanding was... Yep.
Can you hear us, Stephanie?
I can. I can now see Tanya, but I can't hear her.
Okay. Can you hear me now? You can. The community board can't do it, I think. My apologies, Steph. You might need to take it over. It should be.
Can you hear us all right now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Apparently I have choices as to which system. Thank you very much for inviting us to today to give these presentations. I understand that you initially were wanting presentations on the two plan changes, the natural character and the landscape plan changes, which are currently being drafted. And we're quite excited to come along and speak to you about that. We were a bit cheeky, and we also thought it was a good opportunity to perhaps give you a bit of a heads up about another project that we're getting close to kicking off, and that's the Port Tarakoe, not Port Tarakoe, Port Motueka structure plan. I also understand that you've got a very full agenda today, and that it's been suggested perhaps you guys might want to take the presentation as read and go straight to questions. Would that be okay?
Did you have any slides you were going to present as part of this? I'm just thinking because for the public as well, it's good to take everyone's through.
No, it's just the written
May not.
material on the agenda.
I mean, up for here so everyone else can see. If you can just do a summary so everybody's up to speed when they watch this back, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So the Port Motueka structure plan originally sort of kicked off on the back of the Tasman Resource Management Plan review. It was fed back through the community and through prior planning work that there was a need for a structure plan for council to have a look at what was occurring at the port, what needed to occur at the port, what was missing, and to also look at things like how we might provide for that through the new planning rules. So that was the beginning of the structure plan. We took it through the first round of consultation. We spent a lot of time with the current port users, working out what the problems they were experiencing, and then we took it out to the community to find out what they might like or would anticipate or like to do at the port. And at the end of that, we compiled it all together and put it in a summary of the feedback, which you should have had a link to. After that, we had to put the plan, the structure plan, on pause because of largely legislative uncertainty. The plan review was put on pause as well until we worked out whether the RMA is going to be replaced or whether we're combining with Nelson. And we still aren't ready to go forward on that, but we do have some room in our work program to restart this project, so we're starting it. As I said, we've taken the opportunity to put that this project on your agenda just to give you a bit of a heads up. We haven't gone too far down the line. We will be coming back to the community board and council when we're further down that line, when we've got something solid for you guys to look at. So at the moment, this presentation is just to let you know that it's coming.
Okay, thank you. So just looking at your next steps, it looks like you have 7 consultation steps. What's the timeline was that?
We don't know what the timeline on that is yet, for basically administrative reasons. We need to, the next big step needs to come back to committee to workshop it with them, and it's unlikely that workshop calendar will be open until probably February. So I would expect that the next big step will be sometime in February, March. And after that, it will depend on when we can get time for workshopping and things like that. But our intentions are to try and get this moving as quick as possible. We do appreciate that there is pressures at the port for people wanting to do things, get things done. And if we can help them by working through this as quick as possible, we'll try and do so.
Board Member Hughes.
Yeah, hi. Just looking at the map with the area in green, I understand the 3 clubs, for instance, lease land off of Tasman District Council. Is this whole area leasehold from Tasman District Council? That's in green.
Not
just for...
Yeah, part of the seabed is, but not all of it.
Okay.
And it also covers some land that's owned by Tallies.
Okay.
But the rest of it is ours.
Excellent.
Or we manage on behalf of DOC.
Yeah. So the leases, what range are they? I've heard it mentioned 10-year leases and 5-year leases. Is that incorrect, or is that? That's correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The
intention is, once the structure plan is written and we've got a really clear vision of what we want to happen at the port and where it should happen, then the intention is that when those leases are renewed, they'll be probably for a longer term to reflect that clarity of what needs to happen.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what I was leading up to, because we have other council-owned leases which businesses are enjoying long-term leases, which they can borrow from the bank over. And I'm sure that the various leaseholders Because this is, as you can see, it's just mud flats and it's being turned slowly into something really beautiful down there. And I think it's really important that we all get on board and carry on with this. The other thing is port. You mentioned that what's occurring and what's missing. The biggest thing that's missing is a proper seawall and a channel. I take it those issues would be high on the priority list of the Tasman District Council structure plan.
The structure plan is stopping short of seawalls, though there may be subsequently things that come through other council projects like the natural hazard projects and things like that. With the channel, through probably, I would anticipate that allowing for dredging and things like that through the plan provisions would be something that would be looked at. So we appreciate and we're well aware of the fact that it's getting really shallow there and it's not so usable. It's a key factor, but the details of it we don't know yet.
Well, there is actually a sand spit in the way of the channel.
A very big one.
A very big one, yeah. So is that on the council's intention to do as part of the Port Motueka structure plan?
Not as part of this work. It could occur through other projects and other teams, but it's not part of this project, no.
What sections would that be occurring under? Would you know?
Sorry, I don't.
Okay.
There's various teams that work with coastal assets and transportation and access and those sorts of things. There would possibly be a number of teams if it were to occur.
Okay, excellent. But as you can see, the port needs water. The port needs a channel. You can imagine Port Nelson letting the cut fill up. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. It's part and parcel. So I feel it's very important that we include the channel as part of any plan that involves anything to do with this green area, because you can do whatever you like here, but if no one can get in and out, it's a waste of time. You might as well shut the port. Sorry. All right. Thank you very much for your answers. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stephanie. Cheers.
Board Member Hughes. Mr. Chin has joined us. So he's saying then Deputy Chair Hutt.
Oh, through you, Madam Chair. Stephanie, if you don't mind me just adding, we're doing the same process at Port Tarakoe, and the advantage as a port operator for me is whenever we need to dredge the port, we don't need to go for a resource consent. So this process will facilitate our ability to operate the facility as a port.
Excellent. You can get in and out of Port Tarakoe very easily.
That's true.
Yeah. Thank you.
Deputy Chair.
So thank you, Stephanie. Just following on from Board Member Hughes' comment, I can remember a number of years ago, I don't know, 4 years ago, let's guess, there was talk about a ferry from Motueka to Whangarei. Whanganui. Thank you very much. So my interest is what work you're doing. Is that taking into consideration future-proofing such an idea?
It's my understanding that that proposal is not proceeded. Whether it be financing or feasibility, I'm not quite sure. I would anticipate that if that was to be pushed forward, then they would be looking at a lot of development and infrastructural stuff, which is well outside of this structure plan. Like if I recall correctly, they were talking about reclamation and extensions and all sorts of ferry buildings and things like that.
So what you're planning wouldn't jeopardise that if it came back around the table?
They would have to work around what was already at the port.
Okay, I've got Board Member Hughes, Councillor Dowling and Councillor Walker.
Oh, just quickly, very slow on the uptake here. This port's been around since 1916, is that? I haven't looked yet, 1916. Dredging is a part of a port, especially one where silt builds up. So resource consent wouldn't actually come into it because it'd be a pre-existing thing. You should be allowed to carry on, no? Well, they can at the, yeah, I'll just, okay. Righto.
Because it's a regional coastal permit, they tend to expire. It's my understanding that in the past, council and probably the port user group have held consents for dredging. I understand that I think they've all lapsed, so there's no current permission to do so, but it certainly could be renewed and reapplied for.
Excellent.
Mr. Rick.
Tanya, presumably part of the issues and options paper coming through will pick some of this stuff up.
Yes.
That's the next step, okay? So the next step is we're going to find out everything that's going on, what issues there are, and then we're coming back and workshop with you.
Excellent. Right. Cheers.
Councillor Dowling.
Just to clarify the ferry service from the Motueka end was possibly doable. It's a full area of the big bar outside the port. They put it on the coast, the rest of the coast, possibly that bar. That was good. I read that on a piece of paper, so I read it, but I asked for it.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I guess on behalf of my community, I just want to have an assurance that actually what we are proposing in the structure plan is actually future proofing. And in the words of one of the Kennedys that has recently passed away, please assure us that we are going to find a way to make things happen and we aren't going to put barriers up to restrict growth in Motueka.
As part of the outcomes or the further work beyond the structure plan, the intention is to rezone the port. And as part of that, we want to acknowledge that it is a port and that port type things should occur, and to make them as far as appropriate, make those easy to occur. At the moment, there's they've put on a lot of a sort of a mishmash of zones which don't always fit what actually is occurring there, and it can be an impediment to use and development of that area. So through this, we are hoping to, once we get to the drafting of the port zone provisions, we're hoping to make it easier for the operation and growth and use of the port.
If I may, through the chair, the word hoping is not assuring. So just when you go out with your messaging, can we be very careful in the message that we give to our community, because we don't want to invest in something where the outcome is we are hoping or hopeful for let's be able to do something.
Okay.
Oh,
through the chair, I'm certain we can make it better.
The zoning change, is that to light industrial? Thanks. Yeah.
The decision's yet to be made on it, but certainly through workshops, councillors have seemed to support it that we zone it a port zone and that we provide for port activities. Traditionally, a port zone, there's probably a lot of similarities with some of those industrial zones.
So I'll just clarify my position here. For me personally, this is one of the reasons why I joined the community board. Unfortunately, I've headed off in a completely other direction. But for me, the dream of there's many things that you can expand on, but what I have seen and where I grew up in Whangarei, sorry, they developed the marina out there, and it has just taken off. It took years to do, but it's just a fabulous asset. You look at Waikawa and that sort of thing. This is somewhere which will attract money. There you go. So it'll be a fabulous asset, and a lot of it, I presume, will be self-funding. So anything you guys are doing to promote this, well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? No. Was there anything else, Tanya or Stephanie, on this presentation?
Not for me, Steph.
No, not from me.
Okay, thank you.
All
Now I know you are with us for the next presentation.
Yeah, so my understanding was that the board asked us to give a presentation on 2 plan changes that are currently in the process of being drafted. The first plan change is the one regarding outstanding natural features and landscapes, which is a plan change that's been going on for a number of years. And the second plan change is regarding outstanding natural character and the coastal environment line. Both of these plan changes to give effect to the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement and to meet the requirements of the Resource Management Act. I'll go to plan change 82 just briefly. As I said, the outstanding natural features and landscape plan change has been going underway for a number of years. What we've had a draft report, which will be finalised hopefully in the next couple of months, has identified areas that, according to the guidelines, meets the criteria of outstanding and other values. And we're looking to map those areas in the Tasman Resource Management Plan. And part of that will be removing some of the older obsolete stuff, which wasn't really quite that good, and replacing it with more bespoke provisions. They're included in part of that document. There's a map showing the areas affecting around Motueka. I'm not sure if you've got any questions regarding those areas and how they've been identified and where they are. I'm not exactly sure what you need to know that's not there. Perhaps if I can open it up for questions. Through the chair, if that's okay.
Board Member Hughes? Yeah.
I think the concern was private land and areas around around Motueka. That was the main concern. This looks to be all up in the hills.
Hmm.
And
the vast majority of the areas identified are in public estate, particularly including the 3 national parks. But there is some areas that is covering particularly on the fringes, that is covering some private land.
Okay, so once again, this is where it joins in. The Motueka sand spit, if that becomes an area of outstanding natural beauty, how are you going to put a channel through it?
It would need to go through a due process. Consent applied for and processed in accordance with the provisions and the plan. Whether or not it is successful.
Do we have to have the Motueka sand spit as an outstanding area of natural beauty? It's just some sand. And it moves.
It is if I'm correct, it is actually a reserve, a DOC-owned reserve, which brings its own level of protection or considerations.
Okay, but it did have a channel going out there. That sand spit has developed, and due to many years of, well, basically neglect, there is a pole in the middle of it, who you might have seen, a navigation pole,
Yeah.
which you shouldn't use, by the way.
Is it not trustworthy?
No. I could have a picnic there. Yeah, that's a biggie, because everywhere else is all up in the hills where it is beautiful natural bush. If this goes ahead, then you might as well forget about Port Motueka because you're not going to be able to do anything. So I think people need to talk within, because if one part of Tasman District Council goes ahead and does this, the other part is going to go, how do we get in and out here? It'd still be beautiful, but just enough to stick a ship through. You don't want all of it.
Through the chair, my apologies here. Steph is slaved away on this for years, and she's probably the better person to give you the answer on this. But I will point out that there is very strong ecological values in the spit, and the legislation that we work under tends to put high value on those ecological values, as well as the fact, as I said, it's reserve, it's dock owned, and so on and so forth. But Steph perhaps could do a better job than me on this one.
Through the chair, you're doing excellent. Thank you.
I'm happy to chip in if you'd like through the chair. Essentially what we've got are two parallel plan changes, both with independent technical reports. One deals with the landscapes and the landscape features, which has identified the spit as an outstanding natural feature according to the national criteria that have to be used for that. And the other piece of work, which has identified it as a very high natural character area, which is a lot around the ecological values, again using the national criteria. So those have been done commissioned by the council by experts to do that assessment, and that's applying the same type of assessment that's used all around the country and is required under Section 6 of the Resource Management Act. What we've then done with those is we've used those technical reports to develop the plan changes, which look at what activities can be undertaken in special areas without damaging the values that make them special. With something like the spit, you've got obviously the values that are there, which would not easily fit with cutting a channel through the spit. The issue we've got there is, as Tanya points out, the dock requirements around the land management of the spit, but also the National Coastal Policy Statement that identifies areas such as the spit as being naturally significant and requiring protection from things like a channel. So you've got a very difficult space where you've got strong statutory drivers that protect that natural feature and its naturalness. At this point in time, it's not easy to see a way around that would enable something like a channel to be done without needing to go through quite a rigorous process, such as resource consenting.
Through the chair, the channel is already there. It's just covered up with some sand. I know, because there's a pole there. So if we just moved a bit of the sand, we'll find the channel. It's already there. No, I'm sorry, I'm just being difficult.
Did you want to talk about the other
plan change?
Other plan change, and then how the board will be involved in any of this process?
Yes, certainly. So the second plan change there is the coastal environment and the coastal natural character, which is actually two bits of work that we've put into the same plan change. The government has released the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement, which gives direction on how council should manage the coastal marine area on behalf of the Crown or the people or no one. And to know exactly where that document is and its very strong policies and direction applies, we need to know where the coastal environment is, which is where it applies to. The New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement gives us a list of things that need to be considered when you work out, try and determine where the coastal environment is. And so the first part of that plan change has been a project that's gone right the way around the coastline of Tasman and identified where that line is, where the areas meet the criteria in there, which is largely the landform that's coastal nature. It might be coastal vegetation, it might be coastal heritage, all sorts of other things, natural hazard things that are affected by it. And that new line will replace the current line in our plans, which was went in 2010, I think it is, or 11. And council took a punt at where the coastal environment was, and they just put a 200-metre strip, arbitrary 200-metre strip around the coastline. So this one is more refined. It better reflects actually what is the coastal environment and moves away from that blanket 200-metre strip that we've currently got. The second part of it is the coastal natural character, and that's another requirement under the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement, where council needs to identify our most important areas of natural character and provide protection for that through, in our case, identifying them in the plans and also then having policies protecting them and rules protecting them. Is there any, through the chair, is there any questions on that?
Questions? No?
Just getting back to the port. So we're going to be workshopping this in the new year?
The port? Yes, my best guess is probably about February is when the councillors are usually scheduled back in for workshops, but I could be wrong.
So if you could involve the community board in those workshops, that would be great.
Yes, the intention is that the community board will be invited to a joint workshop with the councillors, and at that point in time we should be bringing you a draft of the issues and options paper. So there will be something a bit more gruntier than we can bring to you today.
Right. Thanks, Steph.
And then that goes out to community consultation, so which makes it 10 steps.
Yes. And similar with the other two plan changes, we're currently still consulting on the draft provisions. We're working with iwi, we're working with DOC, and we've been working in-house with council. That will then, we won't go straight to notification, which often happens, which is a rather rigid public notification process where people put submissions in and further submissions or what have you. We will be putting out a draft for the community's consideration, which before we proceed to that formal notification stage. So there will be plenty of opportunity for the community to feedback on that and for us to make changes, and the same for the board.
Good to know. I guess for me, I just want to touch on Member Hugh's points that it's really important that these are working at the same time, so that the messaging's going out that A will affect B, in those options and issues. That makes sense. Instead of just going out with the Port Motueka structure plan, the plan changes also need to coincide with that. So everybody understands the implications of making decision during the workshopping and the community consultation.
We will also be directly identifying any of the landowners affected and letting them know that it's coming through as well.
That's great. Yeah. Were there any other questions from the board? No. Any last points, Stephanie and Tanya, on these?
Not from me.
Well, thank you both for the work that you've put in, and we can see in the background that these things have been going on for some time, which is not unusual. And we do appreciate the work that you're putting in to move this forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to our agenda. We have no discretionary fund applications this month. Now I think I'm going to just jump out of the board report. I should have applied twice. You could have been the one. We're going to jump so I can have our staff.
Oh, yeah.
Let's jump to 8.4, which is on page 47. For those with paper copy, the Motueka Harbour and Coastal Works Reserve Fund Policy Update. So Mr. Chin can sort of ties in what we're just talking about. There you go.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you everyone for the opportunity to speak to this. It's a recommendation to adopt the amended Motueka Harbour and Coastal Works Reserved Fund Policy. I'll just add a few notes. It was first presented to council about a year ago. For a rewrite, the fund is a fund that's available for investment for use within a designated area in Motueka. The purpose of the amendments was to improve the clarity and the wording of the policy. There was some issues when it was presented last May, and in particular around the definition of what the coastal environment and the issue with the account map. So we've brought the account map back into the policy, which defines what the fund can be applied to. There are no substantive changes to the policy, but the wording has improved. But it should be noted that any business cases for the application of funding will be referred to the Motueka Community Board first for recommendation before it goes to the Enterprise Committee. Once again, the fund only affects council administered land, and that's it really. Any questions? Take the paper as read.
Board Member Hughes.
This is the carry on from the Port Endowment Fund?
No,
It's a separate to that.
Separate thing.
Excellent. Okay. All right. That makes things a lot better, but it is in that area up to Old Wharf Road.
Yes, that's part of the account of the area
Okay.
we applied to.
And I suppose the other thing was you've sort of already addressed it, but just to clarify it, this does have to go to the community board before.
If we're going to apply it to a project, the business case will have to go to the Motueka Community Board before it goes to the Enterprise Committee for referral.
Is that just for anything over $50,000?
Generally, I think what the policy is now saying is that it should go to the community board if we're going to build a business case. So generally it would be things above $50,000. They would tend to be quite substantive to go to the Enterprise Committee.
Anything under 50, you'll just carry out.
Yes. We have the ability to just apply works under $50,000, but there's not much you can do these days for under $50,000.
And what's excluded? Like what areas or works are excluded in this policy?
I guess the works. What's excluded is works that's not shown in the account map. So you've got a map there, which has got a pink outline. One of the questions is what is a coastline? So the pink area essentially shows this is where you're allowed to apply the fund. And the map that's after that shows this is what we regard as a coastline under the TRMP. So it goes from the Rawaka to the, excuse me, I'll just have a quick look. Essentially Rawaka to Kena Beach, but you can see the area that's can only be applied to in that first plan.
Figure 1, which is the proposed change of outline. Sorry, figure 1 is
Yes.
there's coastal environment,
Yeah.
and the current one is the Motueka Harbour and Coastal Works Account area, which
Yes.
is in pink.
Yeah.
And so if we visually try and overlay that side by side, the figure 1, the coastal environment, takes up more land space than what the current one got. Is that right?
Yes.
So it will be potentially a larger area. And does that include where the current wastewater treatment plant is?
I'm not actually sure where the current wastewater treatment plant is, sorry, but I can't answer that. I'll have to get back to you on that.
The wee box on the map down the end of Thorpe Street, I think that's the wastewater plant.
The orange is using figure 1.
Page
60.
Yep.
60 is current. So can you identify in there? Is it that little square? Is that what you're saying, Barry?
Yeah.
And then if we, it's just hard to.
Oh, sorry, but maybe if I were to describe it. So essentially the pink map with a pink line on it describes work that can only take place from the high tide mark down. So, so it doesn't include land that goes as far as, well, I guess where I suspect the wastewater treatment is. But at the end of the day, if there was a project that we would like you to consider as part of this policy, it would need to go before the community board.
It's good to see that some of the area goes to the channel, so you have money available there for removing sand.
I suspect that was the purpose of the fund initially.
Yeah. Me, I was just a bit concerned that it will go elsewhere instead of going, let's look after the port here. We've got a decent amount of money which we can do something with. But you guys know your stuff.
How much money do we have in that account?
I haven't checked it, but there's $5 million worth of assets attached to the fund at the moment. So it's been used, for example, there's several investments that's been put in, one of which is the Harbour Masters building. We received that plus about 6%. And also there was a loan to the Motueka top 10 where we received principal plus 6%.
Sorry, through the chair. So this fund, I'm just thinking of the historical wharf restoration, which comes under David Arsenault's department, which is a TDC asset. So none of that money would come under, because it's coastal, fund.
Well, it's an arguable point, really, and I was discussing this with Mr. just the other day. At the end of the day, it would need to come before the community board and for referral to the enterprise committee before it could be used for that.
So it's not out of the question.
It's not out of the question. Anything that's coastal is within the question, I guess.
Thank you.
Are we going to have to vote on this now? It's in the recommendation, isn't it?
We can revisit this later. If you want a bit more time to review. Which might be
Yeah,
the
just,
easiest thing to do.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Just a bit of clarity before we call some of our experts.
Okay, councillor Jella.
Just what Tony and him were talking on before, one of those plan changes is going to alter those lines
Again.
on the map a little bit, because at the moment they go around the inlets and stuff. The new line won't go, it'll go across those because it's pretty messy. So this will probably have to be amended again later on, wouldn't it?
The plan is meant to be reviewed every 5 years as part of our policy.
Thank you. So Nick, I think I asked this last time this came up. So it's an approved budget, or under $50,000, the delegation sits with enterprise committee. The approved budget does that have to be an approved budget out of this endowment fund, or an approved budget and there's a shortfall and it's within the LTP? And can this plug the gap?
Sorry.
So how it's written on page 58, the enterprise committee may approve such expenditure provided it's with an approved budget. What's that approved budget? Is that an approved budget under this fund, or an improved budget in an AP or LTP? So that's a big scope, isn't it? So if there's a shortfall, $200,000, and an approved LTP budget, it doesn't have to come to the community board. And I guess that's my question to the community board, rather than deferring it, is how much hands off do you want on the fund that you've had before? Because I can't think of, it's going to be pretty strange if there's any other projects that aren't in the LTP that are funded out of this, unless there's some random wolf restoration project. But again, it's probably likely having to go through an LTP or an AP process. So to me, that line gives you absolute authority to spend at enterprise level any of this fund that you wish to, without community board involved. So I just, and then my question to the board is, what more information do you need? Because it's one of the few decision papers in front of you today, and the constant pressure you put on us as councillors is you guys don't make decisions quick enough, because it's been out for a few weeks. What other questions while you've got Nick here do you need to make a decision?
All right. No. There you go.
Hold on. Yes. Chin and then deputy. Yes.
Sorry, if I could, I'm not sure whether it's kosher, but you could always, as part of your recommendation, you could always say, well, this is what we'd recommend some of the wordings amended to as well.
Yeah, and I didn't rewatch the May meeting to get clarity, but my initial understanding when this came around is that we were going to go through it and that before it came back here. Deputy Chair.
So my point would be, as long as we don't close the door with any looking at the wall. Because it's a TDC asset and it's coastal, you know.
If I could just respond, I guess the concern when we presented this about 6 months ago was it's not a particularly large amount of money. We can invest it and grow it, but there is always a risk, because it's not a closed fund, that it could disappear quite easily if it's been used to fill the gaps. So I understand the reason why there was we were asked to go back, because there is a risk that it could disappear quite quickly, and so we have to be very careful how we use this particular fund.
We don't have any provision in here around keeping a reserve of that fund, so that there is always something there and a way of topping it up.
No, it's not in here. Correct.
So that would be useful. I think, just like on your point that you just made, make sure that we don't, if we don't know what council could be using it for in pre-approved budgets, and then, we want to support something significant locally, it's a risk that, that 5 mil could go pretty quick.
Yeah.
naive here, but I'm just going to say it. Oh, you carry on, sir.
Yeah, it was, sorry, yeah, councillor
That's right.
Gallo. And Hughes.
Excuse me, it's been a long time since breakfast.
Same with councillor.
Nick Smith has got a lot to answer. Um, The Enterprise Committee is looking at an investment portfolio, rightio, so we invest money to make money. Years ago, the money was used to buy the Westpac Bank building in Richmond, believe it or not. And while the Westpac Bank was there, the loan was paid back, that had to be gotten for the thing. It was paid off, the money was going into the kitty, it was growing the fund, and then when Westpac decided to finish their lease, we put it on the market and sold it and made another heap of money. So that's the investment type stuff that we're talking about and now. So the other day we opened up the post office building at the airport. That could have been an endowment fund, possibly investment, $1 million, say. And then over the years we get $1.1 million back. You know, and that's the sort of thing that I envisage this would be possibly used for, but it has to be done by a plan, i.e. Fins might build a building, might want a building built at the airport as well. And that maybe money could be used for that, to build that, leased out at a very high lease, the money comes back to us, the account grows, the way it goes. So I'm just putting it out there as a not a wild card, but that's what the Enterprise Committee is working on at the moment. Whether this here comes in as part of that, I don't know. Nick knows the more finer details than me at the moment, but that's the gist I've got out of the meetings that we've had. And yeah.
I think the Enterprise Committee can grow the kitty, but the application for building a channel or repairing a wall will have to go through the community board. The actual application, we can grow the fund quite easily, but we can't spend it on things without your approval.
Disappointed the community board wasn't involved in all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Board member Hugh.
My naivety, I was just admitting to, has suddenly changed slightly with your mention of the Westpac. It is. That is the fund that historically older councils put aside to look after the port. That's what it was used for. Now it's not. So my concern is that this money goes elsewhere from the port. And that's why we were concerned last time that this money is going to go elsewhere. As we just found, going up to the aerodrome for post office building.
Well,
That is an example.
Yeah, oh yeah, but so are our fears of this money going elsewhere been alleviated by this amended update? And I can't see it has. It's still got the $50,000.
Well, sorry, Chair, maybe an amendment to the recommendation should say that any expenditure is referred to the Motueka Community Board for.
Well, it shouldn't have to be to the community board, but it's being.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, that there covers the less than 50K and the approved budgets. If everything's coming through the community board, the risk may be in the future that it's not of significance to some of the people around the board and decisions are made, but at least it's coming and it's public.
But you know, I'm no expert. These guys are experts. They know what they're doing, except with investments and that sort of thing. But so to come to me and go, this is what we want to do, I'll go half cocked and you know. I was just concerned that the money will just go elsewhere. But as long as we got some assurances that this money will be there for the port,
And I
that's
think
all I'm concerned with.
I think that's the only other sort of addition in here is there needs to be some sort of assurance around a baseline. I know there will be some continued investment somehow, leases stuff or loans, but I guess it's not in this policy, is it? So I don't know how, is there an overarching one that would protect a certain amount of this money for future. So we're always got a full year to build on. So we can-
It's a difficult one to ask really, and I'd probably need to go back to the enterprise committee or council even to discuss that. You never can anticipate when you may need this fund, and a prudent way you'd make sure that you have a base amount that is always there, and we're growing that, and we're just spending I guess the interest that we make off that sum. But there may be a circumstance where you actually do need to spend a large sum of that, but that's
and that could come under a discretionary decision.
yeah.
But you know, who knows what's going to happen? Yes.
It's a live example, Nick, at the moment is the money that was loaned to the top 10 holiday park from this fund.
Yeah.
Now, if the important or the money is needed urgently, the council would refinance and then give the money back with the interest to the account, and then they just have it in a general rate loan or whatever. But at the moment, they borrowed the money off that so that fund was growing internally. Just the washing machine goes around and the clothes get bigger as they get wetter. Something like that.
That's good. That's good. As long as it's looking after the fund.
Don't put them in the dryer, mate, because then they get
Yeah.
smaller.
So I'll shut up now. I'm feeling a bit better about it. Thank you, Nick.
Let's go. One last one. So
To Nick's point, I don't think you have to worry about the fund if enterprise manage it, because they're about growing the fund. The way this fund disappears is with us wanting to spend it locally on local things that don't return. So I don't have any issues with enterprise managing and growing the fund, but it comes back to your two questions. Ultimately, what the money is spent on that's in that pool? Is it for the wharf or the extension of the old wharf, and who gets to be involved in those conversations? So I don't have any issues with how it's invested in the return, but when is it on call and when does it ultimately get spent on something for Motueka that may not make a return? And that's going to be a hard decision, a hard discussion. But does the community board want to lead that conversation? I guess is why I'm asking you about those clauses and that wording. Is that traditionally the board would have always been involved in something that big decision.
So for me, you clearly show the expertise of our councillors here. Thank you. And as I said, I'm naive on this. All I worry about is I see a way for the port to expand massively that won't take up infrastructure issues further around in the town. It'll bring businesses, it'll bring money in. People that own fancy boats and that sort of thing, generally they've got money. And well, we've just, everywhere I go where I see a marina or a port, things happen, you know, it brings in industry and that sort of thing. So all I was worried about was this money. We need to have as much money as possible to help that along in the years to come, because, you know, that's got a massive infrastructure written all over it. You know, a beautiful inland, you know, it's protected by the islands. And big with a channel through it. Hey, look, yeah, sorry. So that's where I'm just coming from. I was just a bit worried because people were in my ear saying, oh, the money's going to go elsewhere and you'll lose it and the next thing's going to be nothing. And it isn't helped by the recent thing where we see that's going to be an area of outstanding natural beauty. It just about makes the whole thing a waste of time. This whole thing is a waste of time if you can't get a boat in and out, a ship. So you guys have got some big work ahead of you. Thank you. Right.
We've got some amended writing. Should be must be. Yeah, must. Okay, I'll read it out to you. I think I might need to borrow your glasses, Bree. Recommends that the Tasman District Council adopts a draft amended Motueka Harbour and Coastal Works Reserve Fund policy updated in attachment 1 of the agenda report, with an amendment to include that the Motueka Community Board must be consulted on all planned expenditure from the fund and approve Tasman District Council delegations budget policies. Does that, does that count as that?
Because it has to exist in a budget line before it can be done.
Yeah, so, but it's not on all planned expenditure, is it? Like it's like something might come up and then you come to the
Is
community.
it proposed rather than planned?
Yeah.
Because just remembering through the chair that the consultation part is important because we hear your voice then, that ultimately council will decide yes or no, but you get to be a key part of the decision making by being consulted.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's good.
I think proposed.
So I have to sit there and send it back to the community board.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we can go to, yeah, fund.
Yep. Yep.
Board member Hughes.
Good.
Do you want to come back to us in December? So you got-
No, let's get it over and done with. I trust in our experts now.
These experts you speak of. Who are they? Who are they?
Governance will start by saying that consulted on all proposals.
Okay, does anyone want to,
I'm-
does anyone want to move the recommendation?
I'll move it.
Okay, so moved by board member Hughes and seconded by the chair Hutt. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Again. Okay, so that's great.
That's good.
Thanks, Nick. Right, now, sorry, got us off play. Well, I'm just thinking of, we do.
We're just looking at that now.
Well, I'm just thinking on just walking through stuff.
Oh, we'll be here for the night.
Sure.
Yes, otherwise you always here and you know how late we go to. Okay, guys, we're going to move to 8.6, special projects update, page 77. So no, you don't have the same pages on your laptops.
Seen him out early, his wife might get suspicious.
We might make a stop. Yeah, he needs for the suspicion to happen.
Don't even go.
Well, then you've got, buddy.
I know, I've been there.
Okay, so we are on, I don't think your pages match up with the printed pages, so page 77.
Oh, yeah, special projects update.
Online, you are, oh, you are still
No,
page
so-
77?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, well done, Tony and team. What a massive improvement for our community, and I've been doing regular checks.
Me too.
And it has been very well used. And the basketball, like the adjustable height's awesome. Like I've seen lots of different sized people using it. I've also seen the little ones trying to climb it, which I sort of knew that was going to come, but I've sent the husband over to have a few words. And the only other thing, I know there's a couple of bits and pieces that are still gonna, happen, which you can talk us through. But the only other comment I would have had is, and this is something maybe the board might like to contribute to, is having a bin near the basketball court by the table area. Or even moving that one that we have, that we talked about, that's just in the random parking space, moving that over there. Just because that very first Sunday market one, I went over and picked up a whole lot of plastic bottles and coffee mugs, so that's adults.
I'd like to have a chat with you offline if that's all right
Yeah.
about bins and rubbish and things like that.
Yeah.
Is the market, through the chair, does the market not bring their own bins? I thought they
Yep.
did bring their own bins.
They
So,
they have wheelie bins there.
yeah.
They just don't
So-
take them out onto Dix Reserve.
So
Yeah.
people using the playground are bringing their own rubbish and
Well, they'll grab something from the market,
Yeah.
go and sit down there. It's a perfect
yeah,
place.
we'd like to discuss this a little bit more across council.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that will be coming to community boards and council very shortly. We're doing a workshop on how parks might have to fund different things. So yeah, that's coming. I'd like to have a chat about that if I can.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be fine.
If I could just say, look, the rubbish bins are a great idea, but people fill them up. If they're not there, they walked in with it. You know, it's the same with the parks. I'm torn between, everyone's going, oh, we need a rubbish bin there, but I tell you what, it's going to get filled up, and how quickly is that going to get filled up? Because I bet you it won't all be from, you know, Johnny popping down with his ice cream wrapper. So
Through the chair, I think it's really prudent for us to give you some statistics on some of the things we're dealing with financially. And some of the things that's happening around, you know, the country and in Nelson as well. There's some different ways of approaching pack in, pack out approach. Doc do it. Yeah, it's quite eye watering, some of the that we're putting into rubbish. So, yeah, I understand. I remember talking to a lovely lady on the day of the opening and said, we need a bin there and a bin over there. And I just couldn't say anything. I just had to be quiet because it wasn't going to be the right message, really. So I understand. Yeah, it's a difficult one that we'll have to face. So if you can bear with me on that one.
As an example, my wife sometimes has a stall at the Sunday market over summer. We come down here at 6 a.m, God help us, to set up and everything, and the bins are actually overflowing at that hour of the morning. And then when the council contractor comes around, they're all emptied. But the wheelie, there's three wheelie bins come out from the market. They get strategically put around the park. But you go back out that end at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the bin out there by the information centre is overflowing. You can see it's just Joe Public chucking the stuff in.
Yeah, through the chair, it's a never ending battle. And I don't think in some places we're just never going to win it. So we're the team's putting together some suggestions for council, and I'd like to present that to the community board just so that you're aware on what we're having to do or what we're suggesting and why. So yeah, it's not common knowledge yet. We've got a workshop, I think, in the 11th of December to talk about some of the financial constraints parks are under. It's not ideal. We don't like stopping or suggesting to stop services, especially parks as being a community, you know, health, well-being, all of that beautiful stuff. Costs a lot. So, but we're the poor brother. Poor department. So think about it. I know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, so Alice, did you want to say something? Nope.
Nope. No, that was an accident. Sorry.
Thank you also for coming along to the opening.
Oh, no, it was really enjoyable. Thanks for having me. I can't turn off my mute button.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so if we start on number 1, which is Dix Reserve, the project itself is complete. However, there are a couple of minor things to add. If we want to talk through that.
Madam Chair, we've still going to install some bench seats, which the men's shed are still making for us. They'll be in the main play area. That's part of the design, so they're just making those for us. So that still has to happen. And a bike rack in the corner by just where you walk down. There's a really good spot. I think I showed you guys. We'll put a concrete pad there, and it's going to be kind of in keeping with the rest of the wooden sort of structures. So it's going to look in keeping, and it's just basically leaning your bikes up against a bit of wood, really. But I can show you how it's going to turn out if you want. I think I will with my sponsors.
Yeah.
Show you that. Apart from that, I think that's it.
Oh, and the drums. We're
Oh,
gonna
we've got to switch them around. Yes, yep, okay.
So because Lofty was there, this is Rissalini's mother, Samoa, and said in Samoa, the drum, 'cause we have them up this way, which I believe in Rarotonga they're like that, because we've actually got one at home. But in Samoa, they have it that way, so this, so you're actually hitting the sides at the top and the sound's coming out of the gap. The gap's not meant to be up.
Everyone knows that.
I liked it.
Amazing what you learn on day, huh?
So, yes, thank you for accommodating that. And the concrete, the fracture in the concrete is
crack,
going to get
yes.
fixed. Yeah.
I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah, Joe Bywater is our
Yes.
project manager's all over that. That'll be just part of the warranty on, the contractor that did it, so.
Cool.
And by the way, it'll be under warranty for a while. I think it's about a year. Yeah. So they maintain all the new areas for us as part of the contract. And then the other areas will still be maintained by Nelmac. So.
Awesome. Okay. Number 2, Councillor Walker, Maraho Sandy Bay Association. We haven't got Mr. Kirby here to know if the two have connected. Chris,
Chair, the next meeting is 2nd of December, which I will be going to. I will have another conversation with Maraho, because my understanding is Chris Rutledge and Mr. Kirby have not connected.
okay.
Through the chair, there was some correspondence that came through, I think, last night from addressed to the board. The board was included on that email, inviting the board.
To a sculpture opening.
Yeah.
That's the 7th.
Yeah.
It's a different meeting.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I unfortunately unlikely to take that one. But if everyone can respond, if you're going to attend. Number 3, Motueka Cemetery. Now, everything is, we actually, what I think we need is a bit of a list of all the things, because there is other bits and pieces that have happened, like removal of the water tower. There's new planting along the front line of the dirt shed, 'cause I know this because I walked through there, so I've seen all the bits that they've done that we spoke about. And there's plantings on the on the east side by the children's burial area. And there was going to be some works along there. I'm not sure if that happened or not. I can't. This is the cemetery.
17th, 10th, yeah.
Yes, but what I think we'll do is just get a list so that we can see everything that's done. And the only other thing which I know is not really up to you to, or actually no, you probably could, is we had talked about having those doors unlocked toilets for public use, because
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that, but I can.
well, we've got new basins in there, and so now it's a bit
So-
more hygienic.
Through the chair, is that because it's locked at night or just?
It's locked all day.
Oh,
So they're not even open unless there is a funeral.
so it's designed for the cemetery, or is it a public toilet? Because that would mean we would then have to get Nelmac to pay to clean it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, which again is financial constraints on the decreasing budget, but that's a request that you
Well,
like us.
It'd be good to have a look into that.
Yes.
It's
I'll-
conscious.
People that
We've
put
got quite a
clothes
few
down.
people going down there.
And it's not actually open.
No.
Seems.
If a worker is there, someone goes and asks them and they have the key, they will open.
Toilet there then.
Yeah, it's
Okay, if I could take that away,
That
through
would be
Chair, I'll
great.
have a chat with Lynn and Steve about their thoughts on that, because it seems got a toilet and it's not open, or at least sort of being used, and we put new stuff in.
yeah.
Seems
Even if they're, I don't know, even if it's a time frame within the time
yeah,
that now they're
okay.
actually
Leave
working
it with
or
me. I'm
something.
happy to take that back
Thanks, Tony.
to the team.
Sorry, councillor Dowler.
Right, I'd just like to thank Mr. Ogilvie for getting the gates organised and the concrete posts, and they're being done by local contractors in Motueka,
Fantastic.
which is good.
Yeah, this has been a driving force of Mr. Ogilvy's since, oh, actually, that was before 2022, was it?
Since 1985.
Back on the Borough Council.
One actually.
We're getting there. It's adapted quite a bit since, but we're getting there. Okay, so that'll be closed off soon once those gates are in. Wharepapa Grove Reserve. Now, I believe this one is complete.
They're complete and they look lovely.
Yeah, it does. Eyesight.
Now, apologies,
I
I
have seen this.
you've seen it, but I haven't emailed it. So I'll email the eyesight map, you know, the big board. I'll email it out when I get home tonight for everyone
Those
to have a
updates
look at.
happen, that, you know, the bits that are.
Yeah, so
We better give them the updated one.
yeah, so just so there's 4 different designs. So you can just say which one you prefer, then we'll get it underway. Councillor Walker.
Chair, can you please include Preston Bay Promotional Trust in that?
Yes, I've been
So that's
including
the
Adele.
board for the eyesight.
Right, so I've been including Adele, so Rohan, yep. He was part of the design phase.
He was.
Yes.
We had our board meeting the other week and there's been no update.
But it's not, yeah,
That's because
there's
it's
no
no
printing.
I know.
yeah. But I had a meeting with him and he was talking about the background of the board and then he wanted it to have a picture and so he's definitely been in the mood. Yeah, sorry.
There are a couple of those designs are iconic spots around.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely include him in that, yeah.
Number 6, Reed Reserve, Wonka.
We are
It's the
getting them new.
Yeah, has Lynn, Lynn has told me that she was ordering the new parts and had ordered them. I thought they'd arrived because I thought I talked to you about it at the opening.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I haven't heard
so I'm certain that that's happened. I would be expecting that they should be just installed and I'll get her to communicate with you if that's all right. And then and then that would be.
I go there twice a day to school and I keep
So,
checking.
yeah. I thought that would be already here. We had from Auckland. So,
Oh, it's only Auckland. So we just need an installation date.
yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Memorial Park.
Yes, so I've got a quote from probably the only shade sale provider in Nelson Team Shades. That has come in at about 11,000. We've got a budget of 18. I am waiting a quote. I'm meeting a contractor on site, Nelmac, who did the program. I'm going to get them to give us a quote to install that, and I would like to try to get that all in. I'll probably we've got a, excuse me, through the chair, we've got a meeting before Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. If I get a chance to say, here's the, you know, here's what it is, and it's under budget, can I go ahead? What I'd like to do is get someone to help me choose some colours for the shade sales. I can get some samples. So who would like to help? Yeah, good. Okay. Well, let's do that. And I think if we could try to aim to get it all in before Christmas, then that would be a good result.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. Motueka Bridge.
They're all done. Those
The
are concrete
signs?
pads.
No, this is the
Oh, sorry.
signs. Sorry, that needs to say sign.
Yeah, that's all the work in progress. We're just waiting for his workload to decrease so that you can actually start doing it.
Oh, okay.
Stonemason.
Yep. Great. Okay. That's our special projects. Now, just checking Tony. I might keep you there. We'll jump to board report. You may be in our actions list. We only just got it now, so I haven't had a chance to go through and check. So we go back to 8.2, page 18. Of the board report. Yep, page 18, 19 of the board report. Now, is there anything? It's got a separate one, so we can talk about that straight after this one. Is there anything in there that anyone we won't worry about point 3, so we're going to talk about that after the board report. Just a quick question. Does anyone know what has happened with the abatement notice situation with the tiny homes? Does anyone? Mr. Benjamin hasn't replied to my email. Benjamin.
Mr. I don't really want to go into too much detail, but there's a consent application coming for that property.
Okay, great. But everyone's still got a home and. Okay. Okay. You are welcome to stay here, Mr. Rich. Okay, so we'll look at the actions list. This is the one. Thank you. Wait, one for Tony because he won't have.
I can give him mine.
Okay. That's the one that we just got. Wake up and wrap.
Very hard to believe, I know. Brace yourself. The wrap is actually happening tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Woo!
Yay.
Well done,
12
Councillor Walker.
PM.
It may clash with a dog bylaw review, but
Oh,
I'll be there with the wrapping within.
oh, wow. Well done. That would be good to tick that one off. Number 2. Right, standing orders review. Oh, we're still waiting for the.
They're still working through the final draft for that, and we're hoping to get the draft done next week.
Okay, so cool. All right, number 3. Motueka aerodrome noise disturbance. So our last update was quite a model of plane delayed painting and works, and I think, did you say before Christmas, I think?
Well, this all week, yep.
So, that in there. Yeah, it's funny because whenever I'm out doing a coaching session or when I did a speech, you've got to pause when the plane goes and then pick up from where you go. Number 4. We've done that. However, we will just keep a running quarterly or whatever we're going to end up doing on there. Number 5, outdoor seating plans. What is this?
We didn't actually invite Mr. Kemp to the visit that we had on site. That was the intention. So
Oh,
that's
this
why
is the,
this is
that's
for,
right. Yeah.
The playground seating, and that's my mistake. So when I invited the 3 sponsors of the project, we should have invited Mr. Kemp.
Yes.
That was why also we had a meeting. So that's, I guess they're on now.
Yeah. The other seating that's getting put in is going to be placed where the current.
Yeah, there's pads already there.
Yeah.
There's concrete pads underneath the
Yeah.
the cushion floor. So we situated those already.
Okay. So I wonder if have you had any contact with? No. Are you in contact with Mr. Kim? So I'm just wondering if we just send him a note of. Yes. Okay,
So I've just researched that. I did not know that.
okay. Yeah, or even if you've got a contact email or something, I can flick him an email. Okay. So, councillors will engage or give chair details, and we'll just keep it in a loop. So the intention was
Yeah,
there.
I'd happily front that because that's my mistake. I didn't make contact in time, or didn't make
Okay.
contact with them. So
Yeah. Okay. If you don't mind just reaching out and just saying, look, intention was there.
I'll
Yeah.
go walk over.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Tony.
Noting that it's not, it doesn't live in Motueka.
Oh, where is it?
I'm not at liberty to share.
Just give him a
Lives, however, he is not based around Motueka.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Just a friendly call will be fine. Okay, number 6, and then so that item's now closed, number 5. Number 6, yes, update on the Park Street. Folks, and I have met with, what's his name? I always want to call him, the gentleman that was here in our workshop before. Richard
Hilton. Richard Hilton.
Hilton. Yes. Yep. So I actually met with him. I don't know if it's this one. So I've met with him and gone through, gone through council's stance on it and looking at some other areas where trees have been affecting people. And then my next step, because it wasn't very satisfactory and wasn't a very satisfactory outcome of the conversation for the property owners. So I am still to actually go and connect with the property owners and give them an update to see what they want to do next. So that is the next section.
Through the chair, is that a heritage tree?
Yes, two big massive ones. Mr. Hilton was going to have a look at though, like the path access, because that gets completely covered. So people can't actually see the path when it's full. It has become dangerous for anyone with wheels. So mobility scooters have been going on the road. It is a difficult one. And there's a bit of history behind it, which is why it's led to where it is. So it's one of those things where. So anyway, let me talk to property owners and see where we go from there. Number 7, Environment and Regulatory Committee court matters. Clarification. What's happening? Okay, so this one is, I believe, in relation to questions asked, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we get lots in, but this is around wanting the exact court cases that were referred to in a statement that has been said that the Schaffners received through their lawyer as part of the proceedings. However, they were not given the exact court cases that council were referring to. Is this the right one? So it's an ongoing.
Perhaps this should be an offline discussion in light of stuff media being here.
Yeah, but this is already.
Yeah, yeah,
now
but it's some councils have accepted what's been said, but for me, unless I've missed it, I haven't seen these court cases. I haven't seen.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, so we haven't seen the email, but it's all got a bit confusing. It's just everything's got confusing. So we'll seek a bit of clarification.
We'll keep it open, and I think we have to revisit that trail because I tried to deal with this straight after the last meeting, and now we're a month down the track. So
Doesn't really seem clear to me. What you actually have to say, so I can make sure.
Well, it's,
so I
it's,
forward you the
they were asking for the court cases which justify the current attitude,
shape now.
current approach in regards to the inspection of dwelling houses.
Yeah.
And it was said, well, we've got them, here they are here. So that apparently it's, I think it's been asked for, and it was said, yes, we've given it to them, but they're saying they haven't, and I haven't. I'd like to see them as well. I haven't seen them.
And then it was raised at council and public forum as well, and later questioned by one councillor Greening, and it was confirmed that they had got.
Exactly what we're after now.
So the action will be chair to send Mr. Ridd the trail. Thank you. Number 9, financial summary. Yeah, so we're having a meeting in December at like 8 in the morning.
Yeah, 8.
So 8:30 to 8.
Yeah,
8:30. So, and councillor know you make it, and so fine. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. There's been some updates on things which I'm a bit concerned with, which I'm thinking your board report will be talking about.
Well, we're in the board report.
Yeah, okay, well, we haven't got to the.
So 30 morning. Yeah, it was it it's the day I'm going, 12th of December.
Invites have been sent out.
Because remember it was between the 6th or the 12th. 12th suited you better, and but I'm heading to Christchurch, so going to do early before I go. Unless 6 is suitable. But early suits Miss Councillor Murray too. So. Okay. Should we resend that?
Even.
Oh, 13th.
That's why you're through.
Friday. Oh, even better. Come dressed up. No. Number 10, long-term plan feedback. That's done. So that can be closed. Number 11, coastal values presentation. Done. That was today, wasn't it? Number 12, status of Motueka master plan. John Rudd has provided information.
We're gonna kick into that probably in the, we haven't got a specific date on it, early new year.
Okay.
And that'll involve the board, of course.
Cool.
Sorry, in the new year, we haven't quite got a date on it. It's probably going to be, we don't want to overload everybody, say, but probably looking early in the new year.
Number 13, Seaview Housing Development and Fast Track Process. So that's closed because Mr. Mailing went up there, and I think I've added an update in the board report around that. So before we move on, Board Member Hughes, was there something in the board report specifically we wanted to?
Well, the 8-week rule.
Oh, yes, on, so number 4, yep, page 19.
Yeah, are you ready to talk about?
You go for it.
Okay, there have been some, well, as you know, we went to that meeting, there's more people having concerns over council actions, and it's all in Motueka. I see in the news story that Catherine Hebbard did excellent story, and she'd got some answers questioned. And I think that this is the sort of thing that we asked at the last workshop, which we didn't get the questions, but Catherine did. It's a bit embarrassing. In regards to, you know, how big the problem is, you know, and that sort of thing. There were some statistics there.
But I've been informed by a very good source that in Golden Bay, up to 60% of the population are living in unconsented dwellings. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. It's just a statement, but I would trust this gentleman's experience living there. That means it's over 3,000 people. And I'm certain that if that sort of action got what's being faced in Motueka is the same happening in Golden Bay. Are people coming forward over there? Have you? Oh,
Through the chair, no, we've had nobody come forward, and I would dispute 3,000 being a number, or 60% being a number. I think that's well exaggerated.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, it's just just what I've been heard. But anyway, what I'm saying, for me, it wasn't statistics that I was reading, but there is a huge concern for a lot of people now. It's out there, and people are really concerned. And I've been following. I haven't wanted to say this too much because I think there's only so many cases out there, and if I'm really concerned that if I bring one or two of them up as an example, these guys will be singled out for extra attention because I brought them up, and so I don't actually want to. But even as far as just now, there's more issues. So I had asked about the 8-week rule being treated separately to this the granny flats. But I've had ongoing issues with that since we put back in, what was it, February when we asked, and then it was joined in with the granny flats. I've constantly said about how is building granny flats got anything to do with tiny homes or tents or buses or boats, but they've carried on. But recently, as I said, I've passed it to everybody. There's a submission to the government in regards to the granny flats, and they're asking if tiny homes on wheels are to be included. They've already told me, they've already told us, hey, it's being included. Now they don't know. So it would appear that the Tasman District Council, while they're going ahead, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what they're doing, they don't actually know because they're asking the government for help. And even more concerning was, I see, probably, don't quote me on this, maybe a couple of weeks before it was presented to council, before they started taking people to court, they were asking the government again for clarification over confusion with the TRMP in regards to the 8-week rule. Yep, they've been absolutely specific to us. I'm sorry, if you live in it for 8 weeks, that's it. But they can't explain it. They haven't been able to explain it. In December 2019, I presented what I was quite proud, quite a good document. And despite ongoing things, I say it all the time, it didn't get answered. Now we're getting told, and each time at these we can't mention the workshops. Love it. I can't mention the workshop, so here we are again. We are now in coming up December, and what has happened? Because I copped a little bit of grief saying nothing's happened. Well, the only thing I see that's happening is it's difficult. We've got a meeting in December, is it? December the 4th? Granny flats again, not 8-week rule. I've asked for clarification. I haven't got a reply back. Probably not a well-written email. My email skills are very bad. December, we're getting nowhere here and people are hurting. People are really hurting out there. And if all we're going to get is, I listened to an interview on Fresh FM recording, and that's it. It's just that if you live in something for 8 weeks, it's a building. That's it. That's the argument put forward. Tell me how. The Building Act is there. The decision tree is there. Everything is there to tell you what a building is. But no, we've decided something else over here. We've decided something else. No one's, we're getting nowhere with the council. So what are we as a community board going to do now? Because many people in our community are hurting. And once again, the people seem to be single, live alone women or mature women. And when you hear their stories, these aren't, do they not deserve to live here? What are the costs? This is the other thing. What are the costs? I have people asking, they're coming back to me and they're going, I can't get answers. All they do is get hand forms. They want to know how much. My tiny home is self-sufficient. I have a composting toilet or I am hiring a toilet. So that's sorted out. My grey water, because I'm only one person, I've got a little filter system which I brought from such or other, and it goes through and I put it on my garden plants there. You haven't got 14 people in a 3-bedroom house pouring tons of rubbish. It's limited impact on the environment. Why can't, at some point over the past 6 years, we look into, hey, what is the cost? I get told $1,300 at one point. Well, that'd be great, but it isn't. That's the start. Everyone I've spoken to, they've got to 5, 6 grand, 20 grand, and they've given up. But it would be nice if, as I said, the people that are contacting me now, who are going through the proper channels, have given up because they can't get an answer. All they want to know is how much. Surely there's enough expertise for people to come to the experts. How much will it cost me to put a tiny home here? Is it too hard? Clearly it is, because it's December, and I have no faith that this workshop is going to provide any form of solution. Because in how many months, since March, April, I haven't seen any solutions come back my way. Just problems, and it's difficult. So it's up to the community board. We can't rely on anybody else. So I feel I've got the answers. We've got ways out. I've come up with solutions. No one gets back to me to discuss. Hey, what about this? Let's tweak this. I read down south, they've tweaked the camping bylaw. It was in the paper. Was it Queenstown Council or something else? I should have brought it along here. They've tweaked the bylaw. That's all we're asking for. Tweak it. It's got nothing to do with sewage and that sort of thing. That's separate issues. So
you've made some really good points, Board Member Hughes, and the more we're on the topic, the more I'm learning and can see where you're coming from, and hence why I've included those public forum talks from council that I went to, because there were some really good points raised in there, and the ones that you're referring to in the board report. So slides from Mr. Schaffner, where he presented the discrepancy in understanding if this applies to that, the 8-week rule, determining it. And council have said from the get-go that they're really waiting on a national direction for this and hoping that will clear up. But I see your point that you're making, that while that actually proves they're confused about that, because they are asking for clarification themselves. So I reckon, and I know we're working on documents and stuff, but I reckon you at that December meeting can present in that methodical order of what you know, and it makes sense with those solutions, because we are sort of hamstrung by council, and then council will say they're hamstrung by central government. But getting back to the point of what we wanted from the beginning, which was to put a 10 in front of the 8.
I know it's a sticking plaster. I know it's a sticking plaster. But look, as long as you are not having an impact on the environment, and this is the secret to the TRMP, what is the impact on the environment? On the other side, I've got some people not happy because on the edge of their land, they've had it raised up next section by, I don't know, is it a metre, on the low-lying areas now? People that do build have to build up. And so you're having these in amongst there's all the properties, and then suddenly there's a big house here. Well, that's happened to them. And now there's water tanks and a high fence. So they're actually looking at a wall. Where was the TRMP connecting them? The difference is that these people paid the amounts and built their big thing. They just paid. As long as you keep paying, that's all I can see is everything's been paid for. So if you pay, they'll look after you. As I said, nothing to do with tiny homes. That's big industrial building.
Yeah.
But you know, there's so much emphasis on the neighbour over someone in a tiny home, but there's no emphasis of great big towers next to your property.
So, you say like it's up to us. The only thing that we can really do at this stage is keep going along with our community solutions project initiative and feeding into those workshops and making sure that we have opportunity at those workshops to present everything.
Well, we do have to be mindful that as we speak, though, we've got enforcement officers just turning up at people's places where they feel quite private. And I believe their rights to privacy are severely being compromised. I mean, our private lives are at home, are our own. We might like to walk around naked. We might like to sunbathe. Look how brown I am. You know, but people, because they think, well, no one's coming around here. I've got my friends. Why anyone going to come around and see me? Well, there is, if you're living in something that maybe is not quite right, or you've got a swimming pool, you could have a visitor. And it shouldn't be like that. Crikey, if your only claim to notoriety is I'm living in a tiny home, surely you don't need someone to swoop in at any time of the day or night just to see. Surely you can say, hey, I'm coming round to have a look. You know, we've got some major issues here, which we're all getting tied up. The major issues is that to prove this, surveillance has to be done. And we've seen it in the latest court case. There it is, in your face, surveillance, breaking the law. I mean, look in the documents and you'll see the enforcement officer is describing holding his phone, trying to get proper images of someone living in it whilst driving along. It's documented. It's public knowledge. That's why I'm speaking, because I'm just stating facts. And no one seems to be concerned about it. No one even, and in council, it looks like no one even knew. But somebody must know. These people can't be doing this sort of thing by themselves off their own bat without being told. You know, you can't do this sort of thing. I mean, there must be laws about surveillance here.
They certainly are, but I don't think they're upheld in that court because it's a different setting.
Kangaroo court.
I've got Councillor Walker.
Sorry,
to say something, and I know that I tried to get Mr. Strange in first so that he could go early. So
it's neat. Sorry.
So Councillor Walker.
Well, because I didn't really know how long Board Member Hughes was going to speak for. I guess for my voice from when I started here in 2019, I'm frustrated because we started that conversation way back then. What I guess I want from staff on behalf of a member of this community board is that when we do have the workshop in December, will there be some priority and some time set aside for us to talk about this 8-week rule that is in the TRMP? Because I get that it's also around the granny flats and the minor dwellings, but will there be a time frame allocated for what this community put forward quite some time ago was a letter of recommendation to have it looked at and reviewed. So will there be time for that? And the second part is, can this community board have some assurance that their voice will be heard at that workshop? And it won't be, you have 2 sentences and then you're shut down because we're going to move to the next person, or whomever is chairing it decides they actually don't want to hear the voice of community board.
The the points.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Ritter.
point one, yeah, the focus is very much on the 8-week rule on, or it's not, that's what it's termed as in this conversation. So there is very much a focus because we need to respond to that recommendation that came through the board.
Okay.
Not got there. Secondly, you have to talk to the chair about how it's managed. That's not for me really to determine, so I'm not sure who's chairing that. I think it might be Kit.
What
Might be Kit.
what meeting is it?
I think it's, I can't recall actually, I'll just double check. I had a feeling it was full council, but I'll just double check.
It's a workshop, yeah.
Yeah, it's a council workshop, so it's either going to be Tim or Kit. I'm not quite sure who.
Okay.
But that's up to the chair to manage that.
Is that, are you able to put through a request to whoever's chairing?
Well, it's not up for me to say that. It's up to the chair to chair it how they feel appropriate.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I mean, put forward the board's request for dedicated time on the 8-week rule in relation to our recommendation in February, and so time for the board to actually talk through that and
Actually,
yeah,
it's a workshop.
yeah, but
So
it's-
should it
there's
be a
different
chair?
hours. There's a
Well, no,
different
there's
hour
a-
workshop, so
there's
it's their chairs.
Yeah.
They
It's
still
a-
run it like a structured meeting.
It's a 2.5-hour workshop.
Well, perhaps the community board can ask, maybe we should run the workshop.
That's not the case, it's a council workshop. So anyway, I'll pass that on, Chair.
Thank you. Nothing would stop us hosting one next year, maybe, if we wanted to get some clarity.
No, I said,
Inviting councillors.
through the chair, I have no faith in getting anywhere. This is the
we
conversations we're having, the same conversations we've been having months ago. And I'm afraid time has run out. We need to do something to help these people.
I guess
We need to do it now.
the other question is, which we raised at our last meeting around the people that were going to be evicted, is council willing to look at leeway for those in these situations where there is no significant environmental impact? And I don't believe we've had a response. So we perhaps also put that forward. Where does that go to? No, but I mean, this was in October when it was raised.
The challenge is council faces, you've got to balance complaints. We could be here all night discussing this, quite frankly, but the reality is council it's got two people, right? One who's complaining about this, the other who wants to live there. So, we're in a heck of a situation with council. That's the reality of life. We've got to manage it. We've got to sit in the middle somewhere. So without prolonging the conversation, I mean, that's where we're sitting from. And we have a duty here, if we receive a complaint to somehow address that complaint, whatever form that may take.
Okay.
You might like to add in that workshop, a traffic light system where we triage these complaints based on how much of an environmental impact are they having or on people's well-being. Yeah.
Through the chair, the important part of the complaint issue, and I understand where you're coming from, but what I found with the complaint is, what is the complaint? Okay, now people really know. So the NIMBYs, they just don't want it there. They just don't want that there. They're not saying, hey, this guy is pouring sewage onto my garden or anything like that. They're just, I don't want it there. They don't care what it is. It's up to the council to go, right, what is your issue, sir? As I pointed out it didn't help these people when they got their big water tanks and a great big wall of building and it's been built up 1.5 meters or 2 meters. That didn't help them. Why didn't they just say, hey, I don't want that there? Because they went through the consent process and I don't know how many thousands, but most of the complaints, you have to look at what the complaint actually is. And is it a bona fide problem with the environment? Or is it, I just don't want them there? And you should be able to say, hey, look, there isn't any, we've looked at it. You can go back to them. Surely there's ways of getting round these things without, and half the time, what I've seen, well, you've seen one case, haven't you? I won't even bring it up because Catherine knows, she knows, but they're not interested in what the complaint is. The complaint is simply the excuse to get round there, and then they look, oh, we found this and we found that. It's nothing to do with what the complaint was in the beginning.
did we get a list of what the complaints are? Like a
Well,
general, like,
the complaints around at Bensman's were just, there's tiny homes there, don't want them there. Those tiny homes can be there. Legally, they can be there. They just can't have someone in there after 8 weeks. So that's not going to help the complainant by just getting rid of the people. They're still going to be sitting there. It doesn't help anything. It's just the people that are in there. So it comes down to, is it noise? Is it smell? You know, those are separate issues. Those are health issues and can be taken care of under the various
but I mean,
acts.
it's good for us to know the percentages.
Well, they're clearly not
If
going
it
to
is
tell us, are
environmental,
they?
it's noise.
It's been asked.
Is that available information?
Well, we haven't been that's part of the problem. You've been asking for this information. We haven't been collecting it at the level of detail we started to now.
Right, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I can't offer anything up at the moment.
Right.
Our system wasn't picking that up.
Chair, I'd just like to thank you, John, for fronting on the other side. I'm very passionate about this, as you know, and I appreciate your explaining the other side of it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move into discussion around public forum. So Jude was talking about board secretary, which Gavin clarified. So we have someone that takes our minutes and will schedule meetings. We don't, when it changed from John's department to governance, there was a change in the level of support we were getting, like down on the ground here. So that's the main change there, but the minutes are getting done in the board, not the board report, the agenda and all that's still being managed by governance. Transparency, 100%, hence why you will see a very full board report. We try and include as much as possible in there. And inconsistent information from council. Yeah, that's been commented from a few community members, and so hopefully staff will take that on board. Access to IT. Now, I recall this came up, so this is like people, not everyone has access to internet, and this came up, and I think it was you, Jude, when you raised it back as the fence, yeah, oh, the 10-year plan. Yeah, and you said there was quite a few people that could not feed into it unless it was manual. So I know staff had taken that on board. I guess it's the messaging they need to keep saying.
I just need to comment on that really. We have paper-based, we have digitals are, with the amount of submissions we get, digital's our preference, right? If we can push people to digital, we will, because for us it's so easy, much easier to manage. But we take anything. We take email, we take hard copy, we'll take, written on a post-it note. We're not saying go digital only.
No,
because we know the community, not everyone's got access to IT. So I hear you.
Yeah, it's people getting that information as well.
Sure.
Because you could really only read the plan on.
We had
have to come to the library.
I suppose we had to balance the cost of producing these things because they're not cheap, right? And they're big documents. So we always have
Yeah,
them.
they can be at the library, but
Yep.
it's the other little bits of information. And I guess where I'm coming from is these people are people that are older. And I think my line was they've been paying rates a lot longer than we've been here. So it's like also honouring the fact that they probably know a lot and could probably help out with some solutions to some of the problems we have, because they remember what used to be done that then probably got covered up or whatever or forgotten about. That there's a lot of people that remember a lot of other stuff. And I'm all for modernisation and the way we can do so much more now, so quicker, and reach so many more people by the press of a button. That's great.
but just to say that there's a proportion of people out there who actually we come from those people.
Yeah,
They
and I
really-
can concur with you on that, Jude, because when I went to, when we did our candidate talks with the Rotary Club, and the amount of knowledge in that room, historic knowledge around how different things could get fixed and what they used to do, was very valuable. So totally concur. I guess it is what happened was a phone call was made to put something through, and they said do it online because they were busy. So just the consistency and the messaging to public. Okay, Steve. Now this is the cycle track. So for me, I'm very visual, so I need to see things. So it's quite hard to picture what what's presented. And it's sort of, well, in my opinion, outside the remit of the community board to fund something of that magnitude unless it was like a special project. So yeah, so I support that concept with what I've got in my mind, but I don't know until I see it, and I'm not sure how the rest of the board feel about that. Grant.
Through the chair in Golden Valley, there was a dedicated group to create cycleways. And they've gone through with pretty detailed plans, created detailed plans submitted to council. They had a priority list. And they're the ones who are actually working behind the scenes at the moment with a cycleway from Takaka to Collingwood. It was them who actually prioritised getting the Pohara cycleway happening. And they've got quite a long strategic plan from park to park, basically, is their concept. And maybe this group would appreciate their donor. I could probably get it to you to pass on to them so that that they may have some help or at least a bit of guidance to move their project forward.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, was there any other comments around Steve's bike track on the east side? Okay. Ray, so he's talking about binding and implied contracts. And hopefully gives us a copy of that important information about the way we manage our communities. And I thought it was an interesting point, because I don't know, because I wasn't here back then, around previous council promises and have they been carried through the new merge. So that would be interesting to know.
I think it's more of a challenge for us to investigate more on our history to come up with our own
Right.
findings. That's my take on it. Very interesting talk, though. Very impressive.
Mr. Williamson. So yes, we requested that from the board. We send some condolences either in flowers, or I've also suggested perhaps a voucher, considering I know she's receiving flowers from council, from the Motueka and many of other places. Now the jetty, grand idea, yes.
Grand idea. Let's make this work. What we can do is, like Westport, I was down in Westport recently, we can put a walkway on the new seawall. It goes out past the area of natural beauty, the sand spit, the sand dunes, the sand, and we can have our walkway out there. We could look at all the godwits and the beautiful stuff. That could work. Yeah. Good idea, though.
And the price difference for a new hospital, which I agree would probably be cheaper than trying to refurb the current one. Again, sort of outside the board. But if the board are happy, we could send a note to CE, who is part of our solutions community group. That it was raised at public forum, and I don't know, how did the board feel about?
Well, if you build a new hospital, you can do it without having to move the patients around. Or lose patients.
And the new hospital would have to be where the current hospital is. I don't know what would happen. I don't know enough about that subject. I just know I used to work there once upon a time. Oh, now this is something that we will need to get clarification on. Mr. Ritt, do you know if council is now noting on property records if they are identified as being in the flood zone?
We've been doing it for years. It's on our mapping system on our website, so you can see everything coastal. We have to legislation map all our hazards. That includes coastal inundation, flooding, earthquakes, liquefaction, etc. So it's on our website. If you Google hazards, you can see it there. But we have a duty to do that, and that regularly gets updated.
So just to clarify, the hazards are actual hazards or potential?
There are potential hazards, yeah. Yeah, so it's
And how do we identify the potential?
science.
What, data science?
Well, say again? Go. Well, we have scientists, we take scientific data from various sources and we map it accordingly. So, and there's a historical, for instance, we take river flows, we've measured flows on rivers for a long time, so we know how they work.
Yeah.
But all that should be explained on our website around hazards. Yeah, it's a requirement on them to identify.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Just being careful again.
Yeah.
That map's still locked down, it's only internal.
I've
just tried to check again. Natural hazards viewer is currently only internally.
So is it always just been internal, Councillor?
I think they're updating and it's going to roll out the new year.
Yeah, I did manage to actually get into it, so I was double checking because I
You've got MasterPass.
MasterPass. Yeah.
But certainly I can't, I'll just try it again.
So if someone buys a property and a limit is applied for, we have to provide all this hazard data. So yeah. So I don't know. I'll find out when that's due to go live actually, because I think they're probably just updating the data on it. I'll come back to you on that.
All right. Well, I guess part of that conversation's around affecting potential sale prices.
Yep.
Properties. It's the oval base. Now, that was a really interesting talk from Mr. Ogilvie because I don't know the Kennedys. I don't know if anyone else here. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if he wanted us to do anything.
I think you just want to sit through the chat. So certainly Lloyd, Darren should you know as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We did a lot for Motueka. So he was he was half of Richard Kirby's role because community services was different.
Right.
So community services manager.
Yeah. Is there a statement or anything the board should make around?
No, his
or was it just
his funeral was last Friday. It was public.
Oh, no.
That was for Lloyd and not sure what David's was.
Nice. Nice to know. Nice to learn a bit about our history.
Sure.
Okay. Anything to thank Mr. Ogilvie for keeping us up to date. Oh, yeah. Well, I will as part of my little walking encyclopedia that he is of our leaders. Part of my little gems every now and then. Public forum. Thank yous. Okay, moving on. 8.3. Oh, hold up. Sorry, I think we've just got to move that you accept it. So I'll move my report, seconded by Deputy Chair. Okay with it? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone not okay with that? No, okay, moving on. 8.3. Page 41. Right, extraordinary vacancy, as we all know, David Armstrong has stepped down. The board, oh yes, sorry. Thank you, Tony, for your time and contributions, as always. It's great having you out here. So we'll just jump to page 42. So after our workshop, we will be looking at point number 4, confirms that the vacancy created by the resignation of David Armstrong be left vacant for the remainder of the 2022-2025 triennium as per clauses in the Local Electoral Act. So there's that part, and then also, well, I'll move that. That's seconded by Deputy Chair.
Sorry,
So I'll move number 4, keeping
4 or 1?
you will they're just all just statements, aren't they? Seconded by Deputy Chair Hutt. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Okay, carried. Right, so looking at the vacancies. So.
Sorry, through the chair. Did you want to, between the chair and the, the mover and the seconder, did you want to also include number 5 in that? With agreement of the meeting?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Notifications. You're doing that. Maybe that.
I don't hear you, Kevin.
Oh, just John.
Not replacing.
Oh, I thought we just voted on it.
Yeah, no, that's done. It's something additional.
Okay.
Remains vacant for the remainder of the term.
Yeah. Okay. So number 6. So this leaves the following appointments open. So.
Well, it's probably worth noting how many of these actually the past board member actually regularly attended, if has at all in this term.
Right, so Councillor Walker attends accessibility for all.
No, actually.
Oh, Councillor Dakey. Right,
He is
so you
the
attend accessibility for all.
Not that he's part of the board, but
thank you for attending that.
we haven't had a board member there.
Has there been a board member present? No. Okay, Deputy Chair Hutt. Are you happy to, I mean, let's just put in perspective, as Councillor Walker has pointed out, and as we go through, we'll probably realise not all of them have been attended. So don't feel you need to go every, is it monthly?
Yeah, it is. No Zoom link for that one.
Okay.
But however, you could forward to the staff member or myself any issues from the Motueka area in regards to that.
Yeah.
And there is minutes. So Mel would be the staff member, and perhaps she could send the minutes out to you, and you could just engage that way rather than have to attend if you wish. Because there might be issues that come up here. You can
Just feed that.
Yeah, and then you can send if you choose to. Otherwise, just input that way.
Okay. So yeah, Deputy Chair Hutt. So on that one, 6.2, Maraho Sandy Bay Ratepayers and Residents Association. Now, Councillor Walker attends that. And I understand only one.
Previous board member attended one this term.
Okay.
I attend everyone except when there's a clash in my diary.
Right.
Which has happened once this term.
Right. Was that the one?
No.
No, okay. Okay, so maybe put my
To
name,
continue doing that on behalf of the board.
that would be great. That would be great, and I'm happy to put my name there. I just won't be able to get over this quite late, isn't it? Yeah. So it'll all really
7
depend.
PM on a Monday night generally, or a Sunday?
Yeah, so I have other board meetings and then sports, so it'll just depend on that. But I'll put my name as a placeholder, and I thank you for attending on behalf of the board. 6.3, Motueka Aerodrome Advisory Group. Mr. Hughes. We sure?
Yeah, why not?
Hold on,
Thank you.
councillor Down.
Next wants to go, that's fine, but there's 2 of us attending already from here. Whatever works. Can
Well,
everybody-
I think it'd be disrespectful to board member Armstrong not to go. I'll carry on his good work.
Because we don't talk about tiny homes.
Well, I think we should convert the whole place to a tiny home village.
You spend too much time with Daniel, mate.
So,
Will there be some clarity around what that role looks like, whether it's a voting role or just
what is it currently? Should be, because I do on Arts Council.
I don't have a voting role. Exactly. So you probably need to give some terms of reference what that might look like for the new board member attendee. New-ish.
It's a board member there and a community member, which is Mr. Palmer. And I think they have voting rights. And then the alternative chair, Councillor Dowler.
Okay.
But there is a terms of reference for that.
All right, so
Send them
we
through.
just need the TORs for Mr. Hughes. Te Whina Marae, I don't know if they've held anything that
Just now.
Go.
I think it's on it as and when needed.
yeah, I don't, because we haven't had any engagement. So if put my name down, and full council, I was pretty sure I was already that when you stepped out of chair and I stepped in. So
Through the chair, I did try and search for that decision. I couldn't find it, but I think just for clarity, as this process, I think it'd be really good just to have the board appoint you there, and then it's all on record and nice and tight.
it would be the strategy and policy that would need to be formally appointed unless that wasn't changed either. Well, I have attended that committee. Okay, so just to make it all clear, to the full council and the strategy and policy one for me. Mine may not have changed to David when I changed chair. Okay, so I'll move all of those. Seconded by somebody, anybody?
I can't second it again.
Somebody else.
I'll second.
You do.
Board member Hughes. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried. Okay.
Well done.
Right, moving on.
Change.
Okay. Yes. What, number page 52. Okay, so, yeah. So this is a name change, which is good that it's come up personally, because I know when we moved out here, I did wonder why it was PA. The correct spelling is PA with yes, so
So looking at this, I know they were looking at Parr Street and is it Parr Street East, or is it? But there is a Parr Road at Rewalker, so are we looking at changing that as well to the correct spelling?
what is that?
As you go, you come through Rewalker and you swoop round to go to Kaitiri. That's Parr Road.
When we took this out to iwi Partners and to Te Whina Marae, because they're on the street and a lot of our engagement goes through Te Awhina Marae, it raised a lot of other street names that are incorrect. So I believe that the iwi are going to be putting together lists of names, and some of them may be here, some of them may be in other areas, so they may come through.
Right, okay, so that one might get picked up then.
Get picked up there.
This one was actually raised by, I think she was an
Service
ex-resident, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I live on Parr Street and sometimes I get mail for people on Parr Road. That's the only reason I know. There's Parr Road and Parr Street.
That's good to know. Okay, so I just, unless anyone else has anything to add, I'm just gonna move, yes, councillor Walker.
I see on the financial and budgetary implications, it goes councillor Rex maintains a replacement sign. How far does that go? Like, it's okay to go and put, like, you physically go and change a sign.
Yeah.
Where does it get recorded, and is there a cost? And
There'll
and
be a
if,
cost.
as Renee said, what's birthed out of this is there's a whole heap of name changes coming. What budget are we using to change those? And is our voting team part of the journey of us making a decision today? Because it's all very well and good that community board makes this decision, but community board's not paying for it. That's what I'm trying to say. And totally respect that if we've got the name wrong, we need to get it correct. But there probably should be a process to do them all under a certain budget, fund something. And I don't think that Jamie, my understanding is probably oblivious to this even being on our community board agenda.
So it came through as a service request though.
When was it changed to Parr Street?
I think it just came up as par, because when you say it, it sounds like par.
The chair, it actually goes through Kim Drummond's team through environmental insurance. And there is a process where all the residents on Parr Street will be notified. So there'll be an administrative sort of cost internally with this.
I'm just saying if it's in this policy, that process, because you make a really good point, councillor Walker.
It
Should be street naming policy.
It won't be in the policy who funds it then, so.
No.
It'll come from the Road Institute and we'll just have to manage that based on the decision.
Yes, but potential opening to a whole lot of others.
Yep.
So it's a really good point around that.
The chair, a lot of place names were updated with the treaty settlement process, but street names is a little bit different, so, yeah.
Okay.
I vote we sit on this until the rest of the requests come through for a start off. Otherwise, we're going to be having another name for there down the road. If this has come about from one person wanting a change, I don't, how many, do we know how many names are in question here?
I've had several given to me, but I don't think it'll be coming through anytime soon.
And this one is being stepped through a process.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it surely it would be better to do them all at once. Yeah, well, perhaps we have some. Yeah, well, surely it's going to be better to do them all at once. And it would, wouldn't it be better to do it all at once, or?
This is an individual request, so I think this one will have to stand on its own.
You make a really good point, board member Hughes, because it would be easy to bundle it up, but it could actually be quite a long process because but this one has actually already gone through a process. It may not have gone to the roading team yet.
Well, that's,
So we put the sign up.
they'll get a service request, they'll get done.
Yes, so because it's done through a service request. Who knew?
Let's get that week rule put through.
Yeah, it's right. Throw that board member Hughes. He's reading. You've missed the whole thing. You just had an opportunity for a solution and now.
I'd like to move.
So it's moved by deputy chair.
So you.
And the second?
Yeah, I'll second. All those in favour, please say aye. And
Sorry, just as part of that, have you made note of the Par Road in Rewalter?
No.
Yeah.
Against.
So we've got board member Hughes against, anyone else against? And it's sometimes helpful, I reckon, as someone that does not sit and listen to our 3-hour meetings, if you have a little dash of why. Would you like that included, or are you?
Oh, yeah, well, I feel if there are other names coming through, surely it would be logical just to deal with them all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it'll save so much effort, because it's going to be, there must be a huge amount of detail to sort out here, the GPS. Yeah, there's it's not simple thing, so.
All sorts of stuff.
New Zealand Post.
But I think let's just test this one out. Let's get it through, and then we will come up with a bit more.
So it has been carried, and it must be noted that board member Hughes is voted against due to all the other implications and wanting to have all the names done.
Through the chair, just procedurally, we don't generally record a reason against this.
Minutes.
We generally don't do that. We'll record the vote against, but we have the recording. And that would be service to what we would generally do. This matter has come up in council, and the council were quite firm that it would not be recorded, so we'd be inclined to use that.
I would like it recorded in the minutes, though. So the discussion would be recorded in the minutes. So the part that I don't want people saying against and then looking at board member Hughes like, you don't want to. So in the minutes, if it can be recorded, his reasonings as part of the discussion would be really helpful. Okay.
No, just through you, Chair, will there be a work stream come through on changing all the other names as they come up? Like, will we be doing those, I don't want to say it's random, but I mean, this was random to get this here without anything coming through from council, not, disregarding the authority that community board has, but will we get them like this, or will we actually intentionally go, all right, now we've identified there's a whole heap, and do them as one lot of work, so that's one person updating GPS and all those other things.
Can I respond to that? This is what triggered the iwi wanting to go through and collating a list to come up with other names that may be spelled incorrectly, and it would come as a list as opposed to ad hoc.
Yeah. So that would be, are you asking Councillor Walker for that list to come as part of a workshop or just as part of a?
Not as if a workshop, but there must be a work stream that's now going to go out to Kim Drummond's team, because Renee's just said that comes under him as opposed to, we think it was Jamie of Transport.
Yeah.
But there must be some work that's going to be put to his team to actually identify and acknowledge if the iwi is saying that there's all these different ones, and that they do that as a one project as opposed to us getting one today and.
Yeah.
Council staff aren't going to do that. The iwi will do that. They'll go through and find the names that they believe are incorrect, and probably go through a service request process.
But then won't Kim Drummond's team have to do the notification, organise the sign
and it would
and
have to
stuff?
come through here. Yeah, but our council staff will not be doing that work of looking for the street names that are incorrect.
So iwi will present it to council.
But that doesn't, that also doesn't stop members of the public finding a street name they believe are incorrect and doing a service request and putting that through, so you could still get
random.
Yeah.
Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, I just think it would just about have to be put into the annual plan.
Yeah.
Once it's done, because I would be very surprised if it's less than $150 a sign.
Yeah.
And you can have 4 or 5 signs on one road.
That's right.
So, if you have 7, it's $1,000 basically. Which is 10.
Yeah.
If there's 10 streets, that's 10 grand. Jamie's
That's a really good point, because we could be saying yay, willy-nilly, and then next minute you've got a $20,000.
It's not, you're talking about the physical changing signs.
Making the sign, changing them.
Not all the notifying central government, the
And the
GPS,
administrative stuff.
and all that sort of thing. They're going to get, somebody's going to get annoyed that we did one last year, now you want this one changed? Just do it all. No, don't question it.
Yeah. No.
Just to clarify, so I think what you're saying, Renee, is this has sparked the EB to look, so the next lot will be maybe
One bundle.
one bundle rather than
Yeah.
separate, yeah. So it would be more efficient.
Yeah, but also like Renee said, was sparked from one service request. We could get other community
Ones coming through.
but they end up being a bit of a cost to council.
Yeah.
Councillor Dowell is a bit concerned about traffic management costs.
You're actually spot on.
I'm not kidding.
I know you're not,
Here's a
because
cost.
we have, yes, got an extra $7,000.
Might it have to be a 10 grand special project?
No. Those are really valid points that have to be considered, and I guess like board member Hughes was alluding to, we as a board must also consider, because we could have a lot more coming through. Which segues nicely into 8.7, page 85, financial summary. Sorry.
Can we get a mover and seconder for the special projects report? That we did it.
Oh, yeah. So I'll happy to move that. Second by the chair. All those in favour of the special projects report, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried. Okay, financial summary. Oh, to be fair, I have to have time to actually detail the list. Are there any comments from the board? Here to last slide. Any comments from the board on the financials? No. We're having our meeting in December, so I was sort of just waiting for that.
Yeah. Just a quick comment on the way the budgets are set. You're probably aware that we're just literally divided by 12. So you'll see some overs and unders in here, but it should balance by the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The market rental is obviously back up to pre what it was. So, because it's been budgeted on the lower year per month, it's back up to 300%.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Anyone happy to move the report? You're also active. It's going to be moved by board member Hughes, second by councillor Dower. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Anyone again? No. Wow. That's that is us, is it? Is there anything that's been missed? Because I did jump around.
Just like to
Yeah.
just make a quick comment. There was I was talking to a lady the other day, and she said down her street, Eglinton Street, there was somebody there and they were welding a fire hydrant closed. So she was very concerned.
Eglinton Street.
Welding the fire hydrants.
Oh, getting rid of it, yeah. It's if it's one of the old stalk ones that was hanging up. If it was one of those, they're being removed.
Yes, okay, so
And fire wells, which have a plate over the top,
yeah,
they are also being sealed.
okay, thank you. She was just concerned if there was a fire with it. Yeah, thank you.
So they're not being used and they're accessing.
She's down Edge Street, so she won't be far away from the fire hydrant.
Okay, yeah, she just noticed they were welding them closed.
Through the chair, the old wells, there's work being done so that they'll just collapse. So they haven't been used, fire service haven't used them for a long time.
Right.
But they've been uncapped, so they're getting capped.
So I'm wondering if any comms went out to the community. Because there will be some people a bit anxious about saying that.
Yeah.
So maybe an action.
What about water tankers for the town?
Yeah.
Council actually contributed towards the big water tanker. Because some of those fire wells are unreliable and they couldn't use them. Especially the ones with the stalks, because the kids used to take the top off, bang cans down.
Oh.
Yeah, it's amazing what we found down there.
So can we include something maybe in the next news line just for FYI?
So I'll just
That's
query
gone.
to see what,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just send something out.
Yeah, we'll get, the council can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, councillor Walker.
Yeah, completely off that topic.
Yep.
I just wanted to table my thanks and my appreciation for the kind words that you said and shared at the opening of the accessible playground. As you can probably imagine, the timing of my child being in hospital, what couldn't be more worse if we planned it. And yeah, it was very disappointing not to be there, but I have had some lovely feedback from the community, not just on the project, but on the way that I was acknowledged, particularly through you and the mayor. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Chair.
Thank you, and I have also added it in the newsletter. So, because you went there.
You should not turn up more often.
No, well, it's a significant project and, and it became even more significant because we know your contribution to ensure that, so thank you. Anyone got anything else to add before I close? Thank you for staying on, Mr. Williamson. Very impressive. Thank you, our staff and our other elected members for joining us. Motua mātou mahi mo tēnei wā, manaki tia mai mātou katoa o mātou hoa o mātou whānau ai ki te aorangi. Thank you.
Right.